What's up, everybody? We are here with Cadieux, an animator at the Atlantic. She just finished presenting. It's the last day of NAB 2018, which feels like 10,000 days, right? Today was your first presentation. How'd it go?
I thought it went really well. I mean, I was super terrified, but once you get going, it seemed pretty good, and afterwards people said that it was good, so I feel like it went well.
It was excellent. It was very, very excellent. Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, I know some of the animators coming in here, they're like, you get a little self-conscious as someone who has done it before, and you're like, oh, but people already know some of this stuff, you know. But I learned so much from your presentation. You know, I mean. Like with the book animation and stuff like that, like I was telling you earlier, I would have probably spent 4 to 5 hours like trying to rig a giant espresso rig with and really you made it very simple with just the basic bend deformers and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, like I thought about, you know, and I'm new to it. So of course, like if I'm like, oh, I want to make a book, how do I even do that? So I'll Google it, like book, Cinema 4D, and I was like, oh God, like I don't know how to do any of this stuff. It was obviously really a complicated undertaking. So yeah, I'm used to, we just don't have, you know, we have really fast turnarounds too. So I was like, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to like make it, and it works. So
it's not really cheating. You're like, if it looks good, you can sell it. There you go.
It's an illusion.
They're called illusions, Michael.
It's a little bit of a mind freak, actually.
You're gonna start levitating now, right? Okay, so your background actually originally started out in graphic design, right?
Yeah, I went to school for graphic design, a 4-year design program.
You know, and I always say that the graphic designers are the one who make the best motion designers. You know, what is it? And I watching your reel, absolutely love it. Like you can tell, like, you know, you've got the design principles that a lot of us other animators who are just going straight into animation don't necessarily have, and I think that always makes a successful animator. But at what point did you decide you're like, graphic design is cool, but I'm gonna move into, I need these things to move?
So this is like my origin story, actually, because when I was like a child, I said this in a panel the other day too, but like when I saw the movie The Lion King, I was like 4 years old, and I was like, I'm going to be I mean, I'm sure it took me a while to like catch up and learn what that really was. I always wanted to do animation. I wanted to go to school for 3D animation, actually. I just couldn't afford it. And I love all kinds of art and design. So graphic design, I had a state school program, I went for it, and I didn't know that After Effects was a thing then. And we had one basic After Effects project. Most of it was like print, like traditional stuff. And I was just like, I'm doing this now, because I saw like a window into what I'd always wanted to do and what I always loved. And then I'm like, well, I'm doing this, and now I can do this. Like I can do what I always wanted to, do animation. So it's kind of just how I got started there. And then I just did that for the rest of college. I just stopped doing like the branding projects and stuff.
I'm not going to do this anymore. Give me something else.
Yeah, my professors were very supportive, so that was good.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. You also run 2 highly reputable things within the motion design industry. You are a moderator on the Motion Design Slack, right? And also you run the MoChat Tuesdays. Like that's a big undertaking, because I've been on that Slack, and it's pretty intense.
Yeah, the Slack is pretty overwhelming, and I try to like acknowledge that now when I tell people go check it out. There are a lot of people on there. It's over 2,000 people. It might be closer to 3,000 now. I'm not 100% sure, and it's pretty like loud and crazy. But you know, I've met so many cool people on there. That was how I, as like a self-taught person, you know, if I'm having a problem, if I'm stuck on something, I don't really have a lot of people I can go to in person. I don't have any people in person really, so like that's my resource. And MoChat, it's funny because I started doing that when I was a student, like in college, and that was kind of how I like met anyone in the industry at all. Did
you start the MoChat like yourself?
No, I think it had been going actually for a couple of years before I found it. But Paul Canigliaro is a motion designer, and he started it, and then after a while, you know, he's just like really busy, has a lot going on, and he brought a couple people on, me, Brian Beam from Rooster Teeth, and JC Tecklenburg, who's a freelancer in Chicago. So we all kind of like take turns every week running it. Yeah, but it was just, it's funny now. I've been doing it for a while, but I've been doing MoChat, like participating for years, back when I knew nothing.
How'd you get your way into like the one of the main people in charge? Is just like constant contributing and stuff?
I think so. Like, I just did it all the time because, I mean, I'm from Oklahoma. There was no motion animation scene there to speak of, you know, so I was like, how do I do this? I'm trying so hard. And I don't even know when I found it. I stumbled across it on Twitter one day, and I just showed up every week. And I think that was part of it. You know, you want people who are free, who can, like, help, and who have some familiarity. So I've been doing it a long time. I started to get a better grasp on, like, the topics and freelancing and work, and just kind of, I don't know, worked out. Thanks, Paul.
How do you guys come up with your topics? Because I know as someone who runs a podcast every week, a weekly podcast, it can be, you know, your life can catch up with you, and then it's like, oh no, I need a topic. What am I going to talk about?
We actually, there's a way to submit that we get topic suggestions from people, and of course, it's totally escaping me what the link is. It might be at mochat.xyz is like our URL just with basic info. It might be on there, or literally tweet it at us. We've gotten ideas from that. Well, we usually just kick it around. We have like a private channel in the Slack where we just kick ideas around, and you know, we've been doing it for so long now. There are a lot of like repeat topics. It's hard to come up with totally new stuff. So sometimes we'll be like, oh, we've done that too recently, or this is really timely right now, and so it's kind of collaborative. And then we pick like what do I want to do, or you know, because I can't do every topic. I don't know everything by any measure. So yeah, it's very collaborative to come up with that.
Cool. Okay, so here's another thing that I know you, as a motion designer and a female within the industry, you're very true. You're very passionate about raising awareness of the imbalance and male-female representation within this industry. We had you on the show a while ago talking about it, and you had the opportunity to speak on a couple of panels this week about women in Brograph. Give me kind of a little rundown, or maybe some kind of like important parts of that maybe you thought really stood out to you.
Yeah, so I really liked being on those panels. I'm here with Maxon, and obviously, and they had a lot of women on, and they did a Women in Brograph panel, like Women in VFX panel, just to kind of address that. I mean, it's a big disparity. So it was great just to hear women from like all different experience levels, like doing amazing work, talking about the like struggles that we faced, and also potential solutions. And one thing that I found really interesting is I've talked to a lot of people about, it's just like so good to have the dialogue going, and even talking to guys, a lot of guys are afraid to talk about it because it's scary and people get angry. And I feel like since we're talking about it so much, we're hopefully getting to a point where we can start moving past that, and people, communication is like a big part of the problem, I feel like, and then recognizing the truly nasty stuff, like recognizing that for what it is and being able to identify it and fix that. But a lot of smaller problems I think are communication based, so I'm so glad that we're talking about it, and then talking to guys about it, and like letting women who are so experienced and talented like share their insight into it. I think that's been pretty awesome.
I totally agree, and I feel like, now that this conversation has all started, maybe, I don't know, as a man, I'm not sure if I even recognized it at first, until it was put right in front of my face. And I think with the dialogue actually happening, more and more people are becoming aware, so that they can think about it consciously, whether or not, if they're working with female artists, or or whether they're unintentionally discouraging.
Yeah, that's a great point, just because I've had conversations with guys even relatively recently where I'm feeling like pushed out and shut out, and it's like I'm so grateful that I feel comfortable at this point bringing it up to them, because every time I've done that, we've had a great conversation. We usually end up just kind of like, it's an easy thing to resolve, and a lot of the time it's happening unintentionally. So yeah, like shining a light on it, and because I know it's easy to not see stuff that's not happening to you, but just talking about it, and then being able to have a relationship where I can say like, hey, this is uncool, this XYZ is like making me uncomfortable or whatever, and to understand that like we can still be friends. Like that doesn't have to become like a point of conflict. It can be like, oh, like let's figure that out so we can actually like be closer and have that not be an issue. And I feel like that's happening a lot more, and I think that's also really awesome.
I agree. I mean, I've seen the dialogue happening a lot more, and it's very exciting. Is there any one advice, like, and I asked this to a couple of the other ladies who I interviewed, you know, I talked to you on the show about, is there any advice you can give to women in order to get out there? Is there any advice you can give to men who, you know, are in this industry in order for them to encourage women more, or to kind of pay attention to the issue?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one. Chew on it for a second. I do think for men to be more encouraging, like some of it is, you know, the unaware stuff that you're doing. And some of it is like, since guys have been around so much longer in greater numbers, they are like friends, you know, kind of gathered together. And it can feel intimidating for a woman to feel like she can be accepted as part of that group, especially younger women. And I have experienced that. So it's good to just like be friendly, make sure that, you know, that you're acknowledging that person, or, you know, what have you. It doesn't even take very much. And to just be aware of that kind of thing. It can make people feel more comfortable, because a lot of that is women being intimidated, feeling uncomfortable, and it's pretty easy to fix in a lot of cases, actually. It's just that we've set it up in a way where it's not happening naturally. And I guess, what was the other thing that I was going to say? For guys to, like, I see a lot, this used to be a bigger, well, it's probably still a big problem, but like that I had seen personally, a big problem of if a woman like has an issue, something that she feels, like sometimes guys will, you know, they get upset, and because they don't want to hear it. It depends on the situation, which there are so many different ones. But sometimes I'm, you know, if I feel like there's something that's happening, and I'm like, this is not cool, depending on the context. Sometimes guys like go to the disbelieving of it before they go to like, maybe she has a point, and to just listen, because, you know, every situation is different, but it's like just giving it the like attentiveness I think that it needs, because then that's the way, like, stuff like that happens and the women feel like, oh, like, I can't talk to anyone about this, like, people don't really care, people don't believe it. So just being open to hearing it if somebody, you know, comes to you being like, I feel like this is going on, I think that goes a long way. It's just having conversations.
Awesome. Where can people find you online?
Cadieux.com. I'm going to spell that. All my online you can find me on Twitter, like Instagram, everywhere. It's all the same. It's CAITCADIEUX.com, or like at Cadieux, Cadieux@gmail.com. You know, feel free to send me a message. And, you know, if you want to check out the Motion Slack, it's at motionslack.com, and you can just apply for an invite there. I think that covers it.
Great presentation. Thank you for doing the interview with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All right. Stick around for more interviews at the NAB 2018 Max on Floor as we wrap up our last day.